This reminds the world of its consistency in endeavoring to make Southeast Asia a zone of peace, freedom, and neutrality. Or in short, we use such an acronym, ZOPFAN, Z-O-P-F-A-N. That is not a magic word, but just an acronym that we have been using for the past 50 over years, as was underscored in the 1971 ZOPFAN Declaration in Kuala Lumpur. The signatory parties, comprising then foreign ministers or their representative of the ASEAN member states, namely Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and the Philippines, publicly stated their collective intent to keep Southeast Asia free, I quote, free from any form or manner of interference by outside powers, unquote, and alongside broadening the areas of cooperation. This was evidenced by the circumspection and astuteness of ASEAN in prioritizing regional economic cooperation and sustainability as two core pillars of the ASEAN outlook on Indo-Pacific, or in short, AOIP, instead of the controversial regional security concerns as is intended by the US in its Indo-Pacific strategy. The ASEAN outlook on Indo-Pacific marks the initial ASEAN response to the US initiated strategy designed to circle China and stymie its rise. Plainly put, ladies and gentlemen, ASEAN is pursuing its own course of autonomous strategic partnership without picking side in the major power face-off in the best interests of its 670 million people. In the case of Nepal, from the relatively less updated statistics that I have, India remained its largest merchandise trade partner in 2021, representing 80.1% of its exports and 60.7% of its imports. Not much difference from its 84% exports to India half a century ago in the financial year 1974 and 75. In contrast, ladies and gentlemen, only a meager 0.5% of Nepal's exports and 15.1% of Nepal's imports by value were traded with China, which was its second largest trade partner. By and large, like India, which is the biggest developing economy in South Asia, Nepal's integration with the East Asia-dominated global value chain remains low and insignificant. Being a less developed economy, Nepal's substantial trade deficit of 11.04 billion US dollars during the financial year 2022 and 23 was indeed burdensome. Landlockedness, higher production costs, political instability, and devaluation of currency are identified as among the factors impeding Nepal from coming out from the trade deficit doldrum. While bemoaning landlocked topography that leads to remoteness from the source of supplies of materials and marketplace for the finished products for any desired industrialization, perhaps, if I may quote one example here, that is the China-Laos rail link would always stand as a classic example in transforming a landlocked country like Laos to a land-linked country with enhanced economic competitiveness. The 1,035 kilometers long railway line linking Kunming of southwest China's Yunnan province and Vientiane of Laos is a flagship BRI project in Southeast Asia. Being part of the Long Hatch Pan-Asian Railway or Kunming-Singapore Railway, it is a game changer, reshaping the logistical infrastructure and connectivity landscape across the Southeast Asian peninsula, alongside boosting regional economic growth and facilitating people-to-people engagement in the stakeholder countries. In retrospect, ladies and gentlemen, none of the BRI-related infrastructure projects across the world, notably those in ASEAN countries, such as the China-Laos Railway, Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Rail, and even the East Coast Rail Link in my country, Malaysia, have ever been spared from the consistent onslaught of vilification and disinformation by the BRI detractors. The malicious stereotype platitude ranging from hyping the death trap conspiracy to dispensing the prophecy of the so-called compromised sovereignty by the host countries under the debt distress, alongside casting the aspersion as to whom would benefit most from the project, form the template of the West-sponsored cognitive warfare against BRI. Having been obsessed with such agenda, ladies and gentlemen, any glitches stalling the projects, including the ECRF project in Malaysia, would immediately be trumpeted as a pushback by the host country. In this context, the East Coast Rail Link in my country, which was once stalled by the change of railway configuration, is a clear case in point. Similarly, any domestic political discord within the potential host country also provides an ideal rift for the West to drive wedge at against the mega endeavor. Yet, as the BRI is coming of age after 11 years of implementation, it is evident that BRI is no parallel to the Marshall Plan spearheaded by the US in the post-World War II Western Europe, as it has never been a China-aided project with attached conditionalities. Parallel to this, ladies and gentlemen, the collective endorsement by 152 nation-states and more than 30 international agencies of the trillion-dollar endeavor was not spurred by mere herd mentality across the world. It is anchored in the dire quest for development needs, albeit of diverse priorities. Amid the intense demonizing of BRI, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps a comprehensive and comprehensible set of BRI narratives is necessary to keep the discourse on BRI in the right perspective, differentiating it from other forms of Chinese overseas aid grants. The incorporation of modalities of project finance and implementation will certainly help preempt any unnecessary misgivings from being exploited for the wrong reasons. This is absolutely necessary as more Chinese companies, both state-owned enterprises as well as private enterprises, are now venturing into the BRI partner countries in their quest for fresh projects abroad. After all, not all projects undertaken by Chinese contractors beyond their shore are BRI related. Any innocent or deliberate moves to label infrastructure projects undertaken by Chinese as BRI linked unilaterally and indiscriminately are virtually doing BRI a great disservice. Ladies and gentlemen, knowing that the modus operandi of BRI is rooted in symbiosis, benefiting